fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get involved!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Mie Prefecture, Japan. The best way to start 2022 with SimSpeed TV. For those, of course, in the Australian Peninsula, enjoy the second. For those looking for a New Year's Day bash, be it here on the European continent, over in the United States of America, you have come to the right place. What a track to start things off. It's the circuit which everyone remembers for 1989 and 1990, two very fabled races, back-to-back, Senna and Prost. This is the sort of place where you want to go and put your best foot forward. Round 3 of the championship here today. I'm Jake Sperry here for the iRacing Grand Prix Series, joined as ever on SimSpeed TV with Mr. Jay Kennedy along for the ride here for this one. And what a circuit, Jay, to start. Figure 8, a track which is 5.81 kilometers, 17 turns, and arguably one of the greatest thrill rides that you could ever get in these Mercedes W12E performances.
100% Sperry. Good morning, everybody, and hello. Yeah, absolutely fantastic circuit, and figure 8, unique in that nature, but it's an amazing track in these cars. So many differing corners, which I think adds to the thrill of the track. You got the S's at the start of the lap, the tight corners then coming under the bridge through the Degners. The hairpin, which is incredibly tight, and then the flowing section all the way through to Spoon, 130R, the full commitment corner, then into the Casio Triangle. It's so different each section of the track, but it adds such a unique ride. 26 laps for the race today, which means that tyre wear and tyre conservation is going to be an interesting factor of today's racing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. Interesting qualifying's just got underway. 2 drivers out there on softs, everybody out there on mediums. So be interesting to see how the tyre strategy plays out.
Well, they've just actually had one driver change, so we're down to
tyres,
just one driver on the softs today, and that is the number 12 of Cedric Beale out there on circuit. So he'll be the only driver on the softs as the first time start to ratchet down onto the board here at Suzuka. It's a track really, you'd say, of 3/3. We've been talking about tyre wear and how important it is at the moment as we take a look at Cedric Beale here, moving through the fast right to the first Degner, into the second one, a little bit down, 4th gear, squarely over the curb there, trying to get onto the power, this short shoot run towards the hairpin here, Kobayashi's hairpin back in 2012 when he was driving for Sauber. But what you'd say, Jay, is that this is a track of high degradation. That first sector, and maybe you'd say all the way towards the hairpin, that is tyre wear plus.
Definitely is. It's a very, very... Oh, that's very wide. Very, very tough segment if you've overworked your tyres. So making sure you've got tyre life left towards the end of this race is going to be crucial, as we can tell from the way that the drivers have gone tyre strategy-wise early on. So making sure that they're going to last the distance is going to be very crucial. It'll be interesting to see how Cedric Beale goes. He comes to complete his first qualifying lap. At the moment, Emma Simon out on top. He's completed his 2 laps. They've currently got 3.5 tenths on the field, but some big names returning to this series. First time we've seen a few new names, or a few different names, I should say, in the series today. We've got the return of a name that we were both surprised to see, but in the same breath not surprised to see, Kazuki Umeshima.
Absolutely, home territory. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning in Japan, and someone who raced for Radicals Online, who was an absolute stalwart of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, has one World Championship win to his name. That was at Montreal. And here on home soil, does he have what it takes to put an absolute challenge in? Ben Fuller moves up to the top then,
nice
Indiana
lap.
native, a 125.362, there by 0.5 tenth of a second then to get that one up on the board. Something that is also very interesting here today, Jay, is that we've got 3 Matteos in the field. We're currently in 4th position is Matteo Graziano because Volstra goes 3rd. Then you got Matteo Calistani, who's now been dropped to 6th because of Marco Sanfilippo. And then car number 1, Matteo Ugolotti, who needs no introduction for how quick he is.
It's, that would have to be a first, wouldn't it? First time we've had that many Matteos in a race, let alone on a broadcasted race. I've never seen that before. It's cool to see. There's Kazuki Umeshima goes 3rd. Matteo Ugolotti 5th.
Yep, Umeshima 3rd, Ugolotti in 5th. Chabi Rose puts the car 10th on the 26th flat. So everyone's trying to find their times in. But ultimately here, it is a struggle. Now, Andreas Henkel tries to make a run to the line here. He hasn't set a time yet, but that's good enough for 8th place here in the number 10 machine. Andreas Henkel, a driver who just keeps on improving time and time again. This is a much stronger field than it was last season, for example, in the McLaren MP430. And we really are seeing it. Jacob Swiderski now making that drive through the Casio Triangle on this right, which is so easy to light up the rear tyres and spin it up going down that section. You need some throttle control, and that is not a time for the number 24. So by every metric, is starting at the very back of the field. Jacob Reed puts the car 10th fastest with that time. That's a great lap there, Jay, 25.9. It is really congested, about 0.5 second splitting 5th from 15.
Big talking point, though, is how far back Jorge Martinez is. Currently sitting P20. He's someone we've seen feature in the top 5, or battling in that top 5, top 10 area each and every race, but at the moment, P20, he'll be really disappointed with that. Currently 1 full second off P1. So that's going to be interesting to see. We know how good he is and have seen him battle at the front throughout different portions of this series over the last 18 months. But to see him back in 20th is a very, very big surprise.
Would you say, though, Jay, that it takes a little bit of time for a driver to adjust, and this might just be the fact that this is not the same style of car as the MP430?
Possibly, but we have also seen him be very, very competitive in the Dallara IR01, so I don't think that the car type necessarily is the factor in that, but just hasn't gelled. I mean, the time that he's done for qualifying isn't a horrible time. He's only a second off, but with how competitive this series is, a second is still going to put you in P20.
Certainly is. As the checkered flag comes out in session, we're going to take ourselves then over to the starting grid. This is how everyone is going to line up, and it's Ben Fuller, number 2, on pole position, 125.362, does so by about 600ths over Tamás Simon, the Hungarian, with Kazuki Umeshima and Tom Volstra, 3rd and 4th on the grid. It's an all Matteo 3rd row, with Matteo Ugolotti just pipping out Matteo Graziano, with Marco Sanfilippo there in 7th, and Andreas Henkel in 8th position. Matteo Calistani will start from 9th, with Jacob Reed rounding out the top 10. Mitchell Ian Green is 11th, just ahead of Chabi Rose. Another surprising qualifying, didn't quite work out for him. Cedric Beale's the only soft runner. He starts 13th, with Anthony Catt in 14th, along with Alberto Sanau and Danilo Sanfilippo there in 16th position. The driver who calls himself Fat Timu Toika, is 17th alongside Javier Soto. And then in 19th and 20th is Fraser Smith and Jorge Martinez out there on circuit. That follows the 2 Canadians, Kent Nielsen and Evan Way, in 21st and 22nd. That then follows Christophe Mons and Remy Garcia, with Marcus Masserat, the last driver to set a representative time, and the 2 who didn't, 2 Americans, Jacob Sudersky, Seth Whitaker, making up the 27 car field here today. A lot of work to be done, and it's a very famous run towards turn number 1 out here on circuit. Drivers on the odd numbered side of the grid do have the advantage here today. Those on the even side have the dirty side of the track, and they're going to need a really good launch today if they are to get themselves going. It is 26 laps worth of action that we've got to go through, and we know and understand as the green flag drops that this is the all-important start that's needed. Fuller gets off to a good start, but Kazuki Umeshima ever so slightly better here. He'll try and go around the outside here of Tamás Simon, looking to get second position away. Little bit of argy-bargy as they go through, but it's ultimately going to work as he goes into the S's section for the first time. Umeshima up to second, and a really great start by pretty much everybody involved. One off the road in the background is Marcus Masserat, but no dramas aside from that.
Relatively clean start for a race of Suzuka. Usually sees a bit of action and controversy up through turn 1 and 2, but as you said, relatively clean, just the one car running off the circuit, but even then it wasn't too horrific. As we get in towards the hairpin for the first time, and everyone's settled into pretty much single file except for a couple of drivers in the mid-pack. So we've got Danilo Sanfilippo, Jorge Martinez already up 3 spots into 17th, Fraser Smith, Javier Soto all together there, and there's almost wheel-to-wheel contact between them all up the front though. It's all very, very stretched out single file already. But Marco Sanfilippo starting to feel a bit of pressure from behind from Andreas Henkel. We've also got Tom Volstra trying to make moves on Matteo Ugolotti.
They've got no DRS until lap 3. That's the drag reduction system. That's the rear wing flap that opens up and gives you a little bit of boost on the straight. There's a little look as Chabi Rose here goes side by side with Matteo Calistani and is able to get by and get a good start. So it's not been the best start for Calistani. They're behind Jacob Reed, but he can immediately try and come back here on the front stretch. Moves to the outside here, trying to get the run sorted in towards turn number 1, and he can't quite find it. Chabi Rose gets the position. He's up 2 already off this start. He's up from 12th into 10th, but a nice clean start through this opening lap. Haven't seen too many dramas, but there is Cedric Beale in the soft compound tyres, and the question's going to be how much room can he gain in the early stages, as those tyres will fall away later on.
Yeah, well, not only how much will he gain, how much can he conserve to make sure the tyres hold on at the end. We saw last week that the soft runners had good tyre life until about 3 laps to go and then started to really struggle. So we'll probably see something similar today, a little bit longer race in regards to race distance.
And Andreas Henkel very nearly spun the car coming out of the hairpin. So we're really seeing drivers pushing at this point in time. You can see why Andreas Henkel's pushing right now as much as he is. He does not want to drop a second.
100%. You want to stay within that second because that is your DRS marker. DRS available to you when you are within 1 second. Of course, DRS available down the front straight here at Suzuka. That's the DRS activation point just there and the entrance to the Casio Triangle.
Yeah, a couple drivers then out of the race early. Evan Way is one of them. Marcus Masserat is another. So 2 drivers in all sorts of trouble. And look at this on the front stretch. They're all trying to keep themselves in play here as they make that run forward. This is beautiful stuff as they climb in towards turn number 1. So now Kat, Toika, Martinez all there on board with Timu Toika here, who's trying to make this drive as he goes through. Started 17th on the grid. He's up 1 place into 16th. He's got eyes on Anthony Cat, who normally runs in the Chelsea colours, as he looks to try and climb up this hill through towards the 2 Degners. And these are corners that, quite honestly, Jay, they would not be constructed in modern day Formula 1.
No way, they wouldn't. It's a really, really tough, difficult complex, and something about those corners just provide some amazing battles and amazing racing, making sure your tyres survive. As Javi Rosas had a little bit of an issue coming out of the hairpins. Just lost 2 spots, one to Calistini and one to Green as well.
I've just had a look at it. He's actually grabbed the grass coming off of the exit, and he has done so well to hold on to the machine. Let's catch a virtual racing school replay here for the first one of 2022. He goes through the second Degner. He'll take this run then all the way to the hairpin, and he just gets a little greedy off of the exit, tries to take more track than there actually is. And if there's anything that this car is very fragile to, lack of grip. How has he not found barrier?
Well, iRacing prediction model thought that he was going to hit the barrier and thought about taking his wheel off, and then realised, hang on, he hasn't taken it into the wall somehow, and put the wheel back on. Amazing bit of driving there as DRS now active for everyone. This is where the battles will start to get very, very interesting. Ben Fuller, though, he's been able to break that magic 1 second bracket. Fastest lap of the race, though, goes to Kazuki Umeshima, but his lap previous, nowhere near his best lap on lap 2, around about a second, 1.2 seconds off.
Absolutely, and he lost 0.6 of a second on that last lap to Ben Fuller, which allowed Fuller to break outside of 1 second. Now Umeshima will be looking behind at Simon, at Ugolotti. Volstra still on the back. Bit of a gap to Marco Sanfilippo in 6th place, but 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th will all be thinking about, do I need to make a move, and how aggressively do I need to make this move as they crest the rise over the bridge, which is now on the run towards 130. You wouldn't think that you're going over a bridge going into the fastest corner on the circuit, but hey ho, the Dario, that's what you do fine. And going into the Casio Triangle, you'd say Simon, Ugolotti and Volstra, they've got to get close and they've got to start thinking about moves. They cannot allow Ben Fuller to get away. Once Ben Fuller gets away, he's like a runaway train. He's very, very tough to stop.
See from the green lights on the dash there, your DRS indicators. The 1 means that you've activated it when you get to the point, 2 means you've got it available, and 4 lights means that you have the DRS rear wing open. As we're getting another VRS replay, something's happened to Fraser Smith through the Casio Triangle.
Certainly has, so it's in a very close battle. You can see there, toe to toe as they go down into the chicane. He's good through the first part, but through the second, he looks like he's fine, but the back end steps out, and then at that point, you are a passenger. And I have to say about this damage model of this Mercedes, it is very much a case of you're brushing the barriers. It's going to be like real life. Your race will be over. The suspension will cave in just as it did on the left-hand side, and you cannot drive that out of the gravel.
No, as soon as you hit that wall, you're done. Because of the speeds that you're going in these cars too, it is very, very easy to rip a wheel off from contact or from hitting a wall. So when we get to some of the circuits with the walls extremely close, I mean they are very, very close here, but get to the likes of Montreal later in the series, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how many drivers actually survive and hold on to their front wings. As while we're watching this here, Thomas Simon Matteo Ugolotti and Tom Volster are going at it for third.
Yeah, that was a lunge
third
around
to fifth.
out. Yeah, absolutely. It was a lunge down the inside from Matteo Ugolotti. Couldn't quite get it sorted as he goes through, and he actually has done, sorry, so he has got the place, and Henkel into turn number 1, gets the move sorted on the Palermo pink of Marco Sanfilippo, so he gets it done. Graziano just behind will be wanting to try and find a way through into 7th position. He's down 2 spots so far in this race, is Matteo Graziano, but crucially, Tamas Simon drops out of 3rd position. Matteo Ugolotti, who is so good at driving races from the front, has been a little bit challenged here on his first run, and that is someone heavy in the barriers there, and it looks like Jorge Martinez potentially.
Matteo Graziano.
Oh my, it is Graziano.
From 6th, so let's see what's happened here through the S's, but yeah, this uncharacteristic as well.
You can see here, just pushes too wide. He tries to get it, but there's the tank slapper. And that is a very light hit by comparison into those very safe tyres. And ultimately for Matteo Graziano, teammate of Jorge Martinez, his race ends in very dramatic circumstances. And this is the sort of track where balance of the car, I think, is probably prioritised more than anywhere else in the world of sim racing.
100%. Got to compromise everything to make sure that the car is balanced throughout the entirety of a lap, because there's so many different corners throughout this race, or this track, sorry, that you need to make sure that you're good for everything. You don't necessarily find yourself setting up your car to be perfect for anything at all. You just find your car being good enough for everything. The battle for 3rd is now no longer. It's now a battle for 2nd, as those group of 3 have caught Kazuki Umeshima. So that's an intense little battle now for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And just behind as well, this is a battle for 8th between Jacob Reed, Matteo Calistini and Xavi Rose.
Yeah, Calistani in there. Xavi Rose has done very well on his recovery through the field. Jacob Reed has driven very well as we look at Tamas Simon here. And this run into the hairpin. Now, what makes this hairpin so difficult, Jay, would you say is the small kink beforehand, which really does mean you have to alter and maybe sometimes even slightly turn and brake at the same time. The toughest skill in all of racing.
Yeah, probably not quite as difficult in these cars as we see in other cars like touring cars, which don't like braking at the best of times. But yeah, it definitely does play a bit of an impact, because you're trying to get yourself across to the preferred line. As we'll see on the dash, you'll see the green light just turns on there, so that triggering the DRS. But yeah, for sure that little kink does play a little bit of an impact, because it also changes the weight of the car as well. So the weight naturally is pushed to the other side of the car. The car's then a little bit more unbalanced. You're trying to straighten the car out through that tiny little chute before you then turn it the other way. If you turn it the other way too quickly, you can find yourself over-rotating the car.
Lap 8 then, here of 26, there or thereabouts, a third of the way through this race, which Ben Fuller has led every single lap of, every single metre of so far here in this one. He leads by 2.5 seconds at this point in time, and there is the chasing pack behind Umeshima, Ugolotti, Simon and Volstra here as they make their runs through towards this hairpin once again. Now, one thing that Umeshima will have in terms of defensive capabilities around this circuit, Jay, is the dirty air effect first and foremost. This is a very high downforce style circuit, especially with that opening sector, and you can use that to your advantage, build yourself a buffer, which creates more of that turbulence the more rake you put on the car. The other thing that will be helping him out is the attack mode.
Yeah, and the other part too is the downforce settings too, making sure that you've got that. We saw that last week at Spa, the differing downforce settings playing an impact. But yeah, the attack mode, something we haven't talked on too much, but making sure you've got that available to you late on in your race to be able to make moves and make passes. It's why you'll see drivers being able to defend with the DRS close, which we're seeing Umeshima here doing a very good job of. But the downside to that is you've only got limited amount, so using it all too early, not having enough battery life in that attack mode left later on in the race, can very much hamper your run later on. So, he's got a car off the circuit. Actually in green, he's been able to get it back on track, but has lost a couple of spots.
Mitchell Green was in 11th position. He'd actually just been fighting with Cedric Beale. Beale got down the inside. And I tell you what, Mitchell Ian Green was basically fighting like an octopus in a washing machine, trying to get that car sorted and back to a straight line in towards turn number 1. Now that's Beale, the only soft runner down the inside. Oh. He basically took the entire road to say, I am going through, either you lift off or we're having an accident.
And that was pretty much the middle of the road there for Mitchell and Green there. He didn't want to lift off, but he also didn't want to have any contact. It's just behind him is Timu Toika, who's been one of our biggest movers in the field. Biggest mover in the race is Jorge Martinez. Remember, he started in 20th. He's now up into 13th position, so he's already passed 7 cars. He's only got 12 more to get to the front, but they're starting to get more and more difficult to pass as the race progresses due to tyre life, due to the way the field's stretched out. But there's another spot into 12th. Yeah,
Anthony Cat having to deal with that one then, and a little look again from Ugolotti trying to get away around Kazuki Umeshima out there on circuit, a legendary driver when it comes to iRacing past. And we've also had a pass there as Jacob Reed has found a way through, I believe, on Marco Sanfilippo, so he jumps up into 7th position. And that was a key overtake because Marco Sanfilippo's tyres are going quicker than everyone else's. He is struggling as Timu Toika looks like he's gained a couple more places there. He's passed both Green and Seinau.
Timu Toika actually last lap by was lapping similar pace to the likes of Marco Sanfilippo. So Timu Toika's pace is still pretty good at this point of the race. The guys at the front still the fastest. Tamas Simon last lap was the fastest car out on track. But not too far off the pace of Ben Fuller. I think it's what, 500ths of a second. So you probably say that they're going the same pace.
Probably could. And you'd certainly say that the pace that they're using right now is absolutely indicative of what they are capable of doing as Ugolotti all over the back, lunges for the inside. How did he not take the rear off of Kazuki Umeshima there? Ugolotti pushing absolutely everything, and he was pixel perfect as he made that run. He'll have to go for it again though on this straight, and how much has he used in this section of road? But what's crucial is you see in front there, that DRS is open for Kazuki Umeshima. He was behind at the line of engagement, which meant he had DRS for this lap.
Interesting, you can see from the onboard here too, have a look at that front wing. That's front wing damage, so there was contact between Umeshima and Ugolotti there. So very, very minimal damage, but who knows how much of a factor that's going to play on aero as this race progresses. So Ugolotti will probably be just taking it a little bit easier for the next 5 or so kilometres as they go around this lap, and then he'll understand what the car's doing now with that minor damage. But that could be the difference between him being able to make the overtake and being vulnerable to Tamas Simon behind, who's closed up again very quickly.
He certainly has done, and that can so easily be a huge disaster if all of a sudden Simon decides he wants to emphasise getting in, pushing a little bit wide here. They've got those 17 instant points here in iRacing, remember, before they get a drive-through penalty. This is an iRacing official series. Ugolotti over the back again, has DRS now as he makes the run towards 130R, can't quite get it in line, but he'll try and get it again at the Castillo Triangle. It's covered all the way by Umeshima, who's having to absolutely defend with everything he's got. This is the closest we've seen Ugolotti coming out then at the final corner and on to lap 12 of 26. Here comes the run. He'll go to the outside, get that opportunity to make the pass, but he'll have to really fight for it as they battle through. Umeshima again able to cover it off, and I'd say local knowledge there, making sure that he can hold it off. And look behind, Volstra's deciding he wants to attack the Hungarian Simon.
Just behind as well, Calistani has got past Marco Sanfilippo, who almost ends his own race there, touching the grass, as Xavi Rose just behind had to get out of the throttle to make sure he didn't make contact.
Xavi Rose has been staring at this group for a long time, and they've been all piled up behind Jacob Reed to such an extent in that group now, Jay. Martinez and Beale are coming into play as we get a virtual racing school replay.
There's the pass, original pass. Nice little move. Xavi Rose thought about going through, but watch this section here. Oh, how did he hold on to that?
It's so committed. The car's fully loaded through that section, and as he fights against it, you really do need lightning fast reactions to keep that car in a straight line. Oh, that was a thought at Spoon. Not a traditional place in these machines to make a pass. Chabby Rose looking everywhere for a pass, and this is the excitement we love out of the number
Change
4 of
position.
Chabby Rose. Here comes Umashima. Ugolotti's got the move done, and he's finally up into second position. Umashima's got to be careful here. He doesn't lose any more.
I was going to say before we saw the little wiggle from Marco Sanfilippo that Umashima saved his attack mode to the last possible moment to be able to defend that spot the previous lap. You could see that Ugolotti was closing. As soon as he got side by side, Umashima found a little burst of speed, but how much has Ugolotti used in regards to his attack mode? How much does he have in the bank? And Tamas Simon, Tom Volstra, they're back in it again.
Oh, they absolutely are, but they are watchers, bystanders at the moment until Tamas Shimon decides that he can feel he's aggressive. And you'd say that these drivers, past and present, have been pillars of the iRacing Grand Prix Series in the past and will be into the future. Ugolotti hasn't been able to break away, we'd say. He's not outside of a second, so Umashima will have that natural defense this lap, and that could be crucial here, Jay, in the fact that he can save that attack mode where he couldn't do prior.
Gotta be careful though, because if he's too lackadaisical with how much he's pushing over the next little bit, he's going to be more worried about what's happening behind than in front. You just see a little bit of a weave there from Ugolotti to try and break the draft. He's not going to be able to do that at this point, but 0.8 of a second. Umashima doesn't look as committed through 130R, so there's something in regards to the way he's got the car set up. Definitely not as committed. He looks really strong through other sections, but just through 130R, he looks nowhere near as strong as those around him. But through the Casio triangle, he makes it all back.
He certainly does, as Tamas Simon looks to try and fight through. What you'd also say is maybe it's a lack of confidence with the high downforce, but he's got a lot of confidence in the car, you'd say, with the mechanical grip, as you can see here, Sanfilippo there, Marco that is, losing the place to Jorge Martinez, and I think Marco Sanfilippo just does not understand how to get those medium tyres to work.
Yeah, he's struggled. Round one, we saw him do a really good job when we had the softs at Silverstone, but mediums last week, mediums this week, isn't getting them to work as well as he'd like, but can't fault this drive from Jorge Martinez. Didn't have the best qualifying. Saying that qualified a second off P1, but has now gained 10 spots, biggest mover in the field by a mile, and still has the opportunity probably to get himself 3 or 4 more spots.
He's got the opportunity to get up to Jacob Reed in 7th place if he's not too careful. As Umashima, you can see that gap, 1.1 seconds. It's fluctuating in and around a second. We will not have DRS if things stay like this, so this will put Tamas Shimon in play. We'll watch for the light, and there is no light, so it tells you all you need to know at this point in time. Running through 130R in 8th gear. It's almost flat out through that section. Doesn't need to defend into the triangle, but he does have himself opportunities here. Goes down the hill. And as you look behind, there's the DRS marker. He doesn't have any. He hasn't got enough to get himself within a second. And now, Tamas Shimon closing. God, you wish that straight was about 50 metres longer. He would have had a chance there, number 5, to get by number 6.
A bit of driving though from Umashima. He's just able to place the car in the perfect spot to make sure that there's no possible way for anyone to get through unless they use absolutely everything in the car. So, some very, very good driving. I'm going to go back just a little bit, get a replay from earlier in the race, Sperry, just to have another look at that very, very close incident between Ugolotti and Umashima and see how much contact there actually was.
I don't think there was any. I think it was as close as they could be. You could fit a piece of paper between them, but here you go through, and look at that, right in underneath. It's almost, I will say almost like he phased through at that point in time. It's an optical illusion as he went through. What a battle they've been having, and Ugolotti, who had just been committed lap after lap after lap, trying to get those positions made, or that one position made. It certainly worked, and it's worked to the tune of he's over 1.5 seconds gone now down the road. 2 seconds now, the gap. Umashima here is clinging onto a podium, but it's going to be a long 10 laps from here, long 11 laps even from here. Lap 16 we're on now here of 26, and Tom Volstra, who's done, I would say, much to do about nothing so far in this race, who's just been there, sat comfortably in 5th place. I think he understands better than most. It's not about how you show the nose in the early stages, but what you do in the late stages that's going to get him the position. This is patience from car 7.
Let's have another look and see how close this was. I think there was a minor amount of contact right there. We did see that front wing did change shape just a tiny little bit for Matteo Ugolotti. That damage is still sitting on that front wing, so if there wasn't contact, that was as close as these guys would be wanting to push in this race, because we've seen how these cars can react to contact and phantom contact as well. So making sure you give yourselves enough racing room, considering we're racing online from all over different parts of the world. Got to factor that in, and guys that can do that really well often find themselves in really good spots.
They certainly do, and it's that respect between racers that we see. As Ben Fuller, his lead now up to 3.7 seconds. There is Matteo Ugolotti in second.
Closing that lead.
Defense battle for 3rd position. Absolutely right there, Jay. You can see now that it's just a bit of a defense this lap, and it's these couple of laps that I think is going to be crucial here in terms of this race. You can see Andreas Henkel's done well, and then this battle here, Jacob Reed on back, and the big eye to keep an eye on is the number 4 machine of Xabi Rose, because he is lightning in a bottle with the way that he races. You don't know what he's going to do, but you know he's going to be aggressive. You know he's going to try and gain a place.
Speaking of gaining places, have a look who's behind as well. Martinez is in another big battle pack to potentially gain some more spots. I've already said how much he's the biggest mover in the field. He's the only driver that's gained more than 5 spots in this race, and he's up 10. The other biggest movers are only up 4. We've got Ugolotti and Kent Nielsen up 3. We've got Garcia, Swiderski and Whitaker up 4. But other than those guys, Xavi Rose and Jacob Reed also up 3, but everyone else is only up 1 or 2. Except for Martinez, he's just standing out on the timing sheet like nobody else, because he's up 10. Incredible that he's found himself so many positions, because he's had such a horrible qualifying. That's another
Green
driver.
again.
Yeah, Green again, but that's the first time we've seen Green in that spot. Was it Green that we saw earlier there?
No, it was Xabi Rose, I believe, that we
That's
saw
right.
have a big moment there. But Mitchell Green in all sorts of trouble. And we'll get a look at this. It's on the exit here of the hairpin. Such a difficult bit of track to put the power down. And yeah, he's just fighting against it. 1, 2, 3. How has everyone got around that without contact? That's my next question. Mitchell Green somehow found himself there. And you can see for the moment that the battles are all on. And we'll take a little look on board. You can see which way you're going to go. This is Ken Nielsen. God, how has he not made contact?
That should have ended 3 or 4 drivers' races, and somehow they've all made it through. Incredible. We're come back live.
I physically ducked.
I did sort of cover my face a little bit. It's incredible bit of drivers who jump on board. Kalistani.
Rose is through.
Yes, Xavi Rose is through. Martinez is just behind. So this is getting very, very tight. 9 laps to go. Still a fair amount of racing left in this one too. But you would think, based on if these guys are playing championship games, Kalistani would probably let Martinez through here. But it's a long championship season, so they're going to fight as well, because very, very good championship points once again in today's race. Just under 300 points for P1. And the 2 guys in regards to the championship fight at the moment, finding themselves a little bit further back. Thomas Simon, 4th position. So a little bit of a loss of points for him in this one at this stage.
Now, this is important to talk about, and it's how championship points are scored. You get your 4 best results and your best result count. If you race more than 4 times over the course of a week, you get yourself effectively aggregated from that point onwards. So someone like, for example, Jorge Martinez, who's maybe not getting the best result here, is 10th in this race, might still be able to get some more points, Jay, than his 10th place finish here today if he goes into maybe one of the other soft splits during the week and scores like a P1, a P2, a P3.
Exactly right. So making sure that you can capitalise on those higher strength of field races to get yourself more points as well. Very, very crucial, and something that guys that maybe plan their racing a little bit more structured have found a very, very good balance in doing. Is this battle that we've been watching for a little bit here, that gap between Jacob Reed and Xavi Rose is fluctuating a lot, but the gap from the two behind staying very, very stable. They're staying about the same gap back to Rose. So Jacob Reed breaking away, dropping back, or is it that Xavi Rose is the inconsistent one in the group here?
I've been looking over the last 5 laps here from Jacob Reed. 29-1, 29-2, 29-3, 29-1, 29-4. Here comes Xavi Rose down the inside. He'll pick that one off absolutely beautifully, easy as you like. Jacob Reed let him have the space. Xavi Rose, his last 5 laps have been 28s to 29s. That was the slowest lap of his last 6 in the set that he's gone through, because he had to try and make that pass and get it stopped on the apex, essentially like a block pass. So that has certainly worked out really nicely. I do also want to point out that battle 3rd, 4th and 5th. Tamas Simon, I think, used up his tyre, sat behind, and Umashima's almost a second away now.
And Tom Volstra's dropped off too, hasn't he? He was like right behind. We were thinking that Volstra's been conserving and maybe just sitting there waiting, watching, trying to work out when to make the move, but it looks like he may have used everything in trying to hold that spot. And last lap by Andreas Henkel behind Volstra was the fastest out of the group of Tamo Simon, Volstra and himself. So Andreas Henkel isn't out of a top 5 here, because he's starting to close that gap down to Tom Volstra ahead.
2.3 seconds, and this is one of the keys of racing, Jay, because you have a driver like Tom Volstra who's been stuck behind a pack of cars all race long. You'd feel that because he's dealing with all the dirty air and the turbulences of the car going forward, he's actually getting more scrubbing on his tyres as he goes through the high-speed corners. That will be hurting his tyre life, and in fact, Volstra, we didn't quite catch it on camera, but he was really having to fight the car through the final corner there just to get it planted and to get that rear down so the throttle can come into play. They're rear-wheel drive, these machines, as they now look to try and challenge in towards turn number 1. But Andreas Henkel, who's been on his own since about lap 5 of this race in the number 10 machine, has a really, really good opportunity available here in this one to maybe challenge for a top 5.
He's found pace at the right time, hasn't he? In saying that, Volstra's just responded in regards to lap pace. Go back to that battle we were watching before though. Jacob Reed now starting to feel the pressure of the 2 mag cars, mag performance cars, who are right there ready to pounce.
They might pounce on each other first and foremost, though.
You're very true. They are doing a good job of making sure they give each other plenty of room. I'm sure they're communicating with each other and making sure that they're working together, understanding how each one is behaving in regards to car performance and tyre performance. Interesting talking about tyre performance too. Cedric Beale's pace, remembering he's the only driver on soft tyres, is still reasonably good, but we're not far off seeing that cliff come and magically appear. We have seen blown tyres in this series before from guys working them too hard, running them too long. Fingers crossed for Cedric Beale we don't see it, but in the same breath, it would be pleasant to see as well, as here comes Mark Canez up the inside of his teammate.
Oh no! Rule one, just like that, front wing gone almost, it seems, for Matteo Calistani. And the 2 teammates then collide at the triangle. Where have we seen that before? But ultimately there, the big key is it was a crush into that section as Marco Sanfilippo dives through on Cedric Beale, gains a place. Such a difficult section of track. And it was just that crush again, Jay, where it's so difficult through the second part of the Castillo triangle to leave room for a car on the inside.
It's a tough section of track at the best of time, but making sure that you leave room for someone else is difficult. And then making sure you leave room for your teammate. Oh, that's just awkward, isn't it? You feel bad for the guys because they've been doing such a good job, and we literally have been talking up how good a job they've done of working together and playing the team game for the last 15 laps or so when they've been together, or 10 laps or so when they've been together, but that's hurt now. Palestani, will he be able to hold on the spot? You would think no, just based on that minimal front downforce he's got now.
Oh, you can see it as Marquez tries to fight for a way through. He keeps looking left, right, any which way he can, try and get that position made, and he just isn't able to get there. He's definitely got an advantage on the straights, no doubt, because there's so much buffeting and the aero over the car definitely changes. Marquez again, it's going to be a mirror story, but this time a lot more room given. Marquez goes through. You're not going to argue against that this far, or this close, sorry, I would say, from the end of this race. So a good overtake being done. It's bunched up the pack as well here in this one. And I would also like to say, at this point in time, Jay, I've been keeping an eye on Matteo Ugolotti's times. He's actually kept Ben Fuller pretty much in check at around 3 to 3.5 seconds.
He's actually forced Ben Fuller to increase his pace, hasn't he? Ben Fuller had dropped to the mid to high 128s. Ever since we saw Ugolotti start to make inroads, Ben Fuller's pace has increased, and they're now sort of matching each other lap time on lap time. Last lap by Ugolotti was 0.3 slower, but the lap previous he was 0.3 faster. They're ebbing and flowing, matching each other lap on lap. Ugolotti, sure, he's not close enough to pounce right now, but that clock, that little timer that Ben Fuller will be watching. Oh no, that's Sam Filippo around. Another car falling victim to the exit of the hairpin.
Yeah, just too early on the power, rear wheel spin, and the car throws itself into the inside barrier. And Marco Sanfilippo's challenge goes away, and he very almost nearly gets clipped from behind. Was that Michelin Green? It was Michelin Green again, very nearly clipping him. So again, you're starting to see just how difficult Suzuka is. For those who think that this is an easy track, because it's just a nice joyride, you're absolutely wrong. And this is why you can see moving through under brakes into the left, trying to get early on the power, still having some rotation in the car. And when the rear isn't planted, you are spinning, and there is nothing you can do to counter it.
Jet out to Cedric Beale, who's making those soft tyres work. Actually, not only work, he's trying to attack and get himself back into the top 10 here. So, of course, Calistani, no front wing, definitely down on pace. He's about a second and a half off what he was doing earlier. So, definitely hurting him for pace. But
Simon has so nearly followed Marco Sanfilippo's guide going through that hairpin. My word, he's had a right helter-skelter. Wow. So he's had himself a moment. I'm not sure if we can load that up on the Virtual Racing School replay, but I'm sure for Tamas Simon, he will be definitely looking at that third position. And if it wasn't, well, if it was in the balance right now here, Jay, it's just gone.
Good news.
We've got it.
Not only got it, got the super slow-mo happening. So have a look at this. Almost heartbreaking moment. Now, if these guys weren't as good as they are, that would have been fence. But these guys are incredibly skilled, so just looks like another day at the track for these guys. But you or I did that. We would both be in the fence. Absolutely no doubt about it. Cedric Beale, who said he was attacking. He's attacking, but Anthony Catt, attacking more, gets a spot.
Certainly does, and that'll be Fat Timu behind. Timu Toika looking to try and find a way through. Two-time winner, our trophy winner, apparently. But he is certainly hoping for a good run in the number 20 car. Get himself to Beale, attack, put as much as possible in this race, and really showcase what is available, what is possible, what you can do late on with 2 laps to go around this place, this Suzuka track. And there you can see at the very back, Marco Sanfilippo in 22nd. And I tell you what, Timu Toika's just found his place.
Yep. Cedric Beale, well, has he found the place? Cedric Beale on the inside. Now, this is a spot that you never ever see overtakes. You rarely see side by side because everyone knows that it's very, very difficult. But Cedric Beale just using those soft tyres as we start the final lap at the front of the field to get the spot from Timu, but Timu's got a much better run down this straight. Not able to use it though.
Higher downforce.
Yep.
That's all it is. Higher downforce in comparison to Beale. As just in front of them is Anthony Cat going around the outside of Matteo Calistani, who's not got the front wing. Somehow is able to defend it. It's about a second here in iRacing the difference. He gets the DRS flat though, wide open. He'll have to try and defend here on this final lap, but here comes the lunge over to the outside. Look at it as they go through in towards 2. He's not going to get the fairy tale Raikkonen on Fisichella pass on the last lap as Anthony Cat, but my goodness did he give it a go, and it's far from over here in the final lap of this race.
Incredible fight these guys are having. This for the final spot in the top 10, so it's a pretty coveted position. See there, Marquez put himself up into 9th and starting to break away, but Calistani doing a great job of defending. You need to go back to the front of the field because the man we've hardly talked about, hardly seen all race long, has driven an incredible race.
We know how talented he is. He's the sort of driver who can go out there and change races on a win. He's got so much natural talent underneath him, and he's just proven today as he's walked away from a very accomplished field. Ben Fuller wins today then at Suzuka. It's Ugolotti over the line in second, and what a drive return to the series for the hometown hero Kazuki Umeshima, who picks up that 3rd place on a sterling defensive effort here today. It's still not over for Calistani as Anthony Cat now gets a monster run going in towards the chicane. He can't get it sorted as Seinau goes by Cedric Beale on the tyres, and in the background off the road, Kent Nielsen gives one to Javier Soto coming to the line, and a drag race over to the line here as Anthony Cat just holds off Toika.
Yeah, only 0.2 of a second in the end between those two, but what a drive from Ben Fuller. We've said it how many times throughout our years broadcasting, Sperry, that if you never get any TV time and you're at the front of the field, you've had a pretty good race. As not good as it is for you to not get TV time, the fact that you've had none means that you've had a nice cruisy day.
Absolutely. Plain and simple. That is how effectively you can manage a race, and Ben Fuller has proven that today around this Mie Prefecture circuit here of Suzuka. His margin of victory in 38 minutes and 21 seconds is 4.1 over Matteo Ugolotti, with Kazuki Umeshima rounding out the podium in the number 6 machine. It will be 4th position for Tamash Simon as he tried to fight late, but a very, very late moment coming through the hairpin put an end to that challenge. It was only 7/10 off come the end, with Tom Volstra in 5th, staving off Andreas Henkel 6th, and a very underrated great drive from Chabi Rose up 5 to finish in 7th. Jacob Reed as well, there finishing in 8th place in the number 18 car. He'll get a boatload of iRating for that, with Jorge Marquez finishing in 9th position, the biggest mover in the field, up 11, and Matteo Calistani there in 10th. Those two, though, finishing with egg on their face as they broke rule 1 of sim racing, which is don't hit your teammate. In 11th position is Anthony Cat, just ahead of Timu Toika by 0.08 of a second, with Alberto Senao in 13th, and Cedric Beale's soft compound tyre gamble costing him only 1 spot in the end of this race. 14th is his end result. Javier Soto finishes in 15th, ahead of Kent Nielsen, with Remy Garcia 17th and Jacob Swiderski in 18th. Christoph Mont and Danilo Sanfilippo round out the top 20 here today, with Marco Sanfilippo 21st and Mitchell Ian Green, who had a, I would say, eventful race, had a couple of spins. He's back there in 22nd. 1 lap down, having to make a stop, was Seth Whitaker. He finished 23rd. And then the final 4 drivers out of the race in the early stages. The dramatic crash of Matteo Graziano up the hill through the left-hander. Very similar spot to where the late Jules Bianchi lost his life, rest in peace, along with Fraser Smith, Marcus Masserat, and Evan May on the opening lap of the race, finding himself in a world of troubles. But from a circuit which was all about balance, we go to one of the high-speed thrill rides of the iRacing calendar. It is the Red Bull Ring, the 4th round of the championship. And Jay, you have to say, this is the sort of circuit where I think this car will shine. We saw it at the back end of the Formula 1 season, how the Mercedes looked absolutely dominant when it came to straight line power. This is the sort of place where they probably look at this and say, we want to do well again here at this place, and this is the sort of track that you try and work around and try and figure into plans.
I can guarantee a win in the Mercedes W12 next week at the Red Bull Ring, but Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fantastic race. Nice short track, amazing flow, elevation at that circuit is incredible. Looking forward to it. It's become a favourite within the iRacing community in the short time it's been on the service. Really looking forward to seeing how it goes in these cars. But what a race we had today. Some great battles. Some really cool strategy from Cedric Beale. I want to give him a big shout out because the pace that he showed in qualifying probably would have meant that he would have started at the back of the field, took the gamble on the softs and made it work for him. So congratulations to him, but Ben Fuller way too good today, unfortunately for everyone else. But what it's done to the championship has made it very, very tight at the top.
Certainly is, but we're only one quarter of the way through the season. They've got 4 drop rounds as well available to them, so your best 8 scores count. Massive thanks to the Virtual Racing School who sponsored the replays, and of course to the iRacing Open Wheel community who have been excellent in bringing us the iRacing Grand Prix Series time and time again. From Jay Kennedy on the cameras, my name of course, Jake Sperry. Suzuka belonged to Ben Fuller. He absolutely dominated proceedings today, drove this race in the way that only he could by just a controlled measurement as they go through. But from the land of the rising sun, we head to the base of the Styrian Mountains because the picturesque Red Bull Ring is next on the horizon. Who's got what it takes to deal with the high-speed thrill ride that will bring? The only place you can catch is with us at SimSpeed TV. We'll see you next week as it's the Red Bull Ring that awaits.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh my
here.
God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get involved.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?